to get into the talk. Got some good music playing, guys. Okay, the music tonight was primarily about I want to see you again, or I miss you, you know, things of that nature, okay? Now the poem, listen, this is interesting because I have a cousin named Manny. His last name is Benjamin. May he rest in peace. All right? Manny was the nickname that his parents gave him, right? Their son. I thought about him so much the other day. Now, he went home to glory in the 90s, right? And again, his last name is Benjamin. So now you see a talk where Benjamin came from, right? But there was a little creative spew added to the poetry, you know, to make it more intriguing with the writing, right? I know my tea is cold. So I thought about him, and I imagined how his life would be today if he was still with us, right? I imagined that. If he had not gone to glory so early, because, you know, he left us in the early 1990s. He was caught in a shootout crossfire at a party in Brooklyn. And, you know, I was a teenager, and we was partying. Partying is what we did, okay, in Brooklyn. Shout out to BK, Brooklyn in the house. Okay, so partying is what we did. Hi, Charlotte Brown. Thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it. I hope you caught the poetry. It's called A Talk with Benjamin, okay? But I'm telling you why I wrote the poetry, okay, what was in my head. So my cousin Manny, yeah, he went on to glory. He was caught in the crossfire. May he rest in peace. We love him so much, okay, in Brooklyn in the early 1990s, and he loved to party. I mean, he could dress. He was the party head, okay? And I used to sneak out and go to the parties with him. And I would come home and have to deal with my mama lady. Yes, I did, you know, because I was too young. But I was sneaking out that back door, honey. I was getting to the party. I was getting to what was taking place. I was going to go, okay? And my cousin was there, you know, and he was like not only just a big cousin, but he was like a brother. You know what I mean? So I knew when I came to the parties up in the cut, he was going to hold me down, me and my friends. And I used to have a crew. I had the crew, okay? We was the Reebok crew back in the day. Reebok crew, yes, okay? And it was like a bunch of little girls, and we was cute. We had our big door knockers and trunk jewelries. Reebok jackets, teenagers. We thought we was it. We was it, okay? Walking these streets of Brooklyn. No, we shouldn't even be outside. But it is what it is. My cousin was there, and he was very popular. Very well respected. He was a nice guy, okay? He was close to all of his girl cousins, and he ain't play about us. But he was close to all of the boy cousins as well. We just loved him, you know? I miss him so much. So he was in my mind, and I started to write this poetry. Okay? I started to write this. So he was like, you know, the no-nonsense, respected, fun person in our neighborhood. And the chicks would go hard for him. Like, they would, listen, them chicks was going hard for him. Like, they loved him. Okay? He was young. He took down a couple of my friends. A couple of my friends got taken down. And I ain't like that because back then I ain't like my cousins to mess with my friends. You know, I'm grown now, so I don't really care. But when I was young, I was like, don't mess with him. That's my cousin. Ew, my cousins. Why you liking my cousin? You know, it was that whole thing going on. But he was really loved. The women would fight over him, go crazy. He had skin that was so smooth and beautiful. He was a really dark young man, right? But his skin was like chocolate gold. You know those dark-skinned brothers that they got that nice dark skin? And the features are just all in the right place, the cheekbones and the eyes, and the smile. He had a smile that was infectious. He had beautiful, white, straight teeth, okay? And he was a clean guy, just clean, all right? Well, me thinking about him, because I missed him so much, and it's been so many years, you know, I took my creative, imaginary world in my head, and I made him a little older, just imagining if we didn't lose him while we were still young. But if he was a little older, right? And the woman in the poem that's speaking with him, yes, this song came right on time. Will Downing, When I See You Again. I don't know how much I love Will Downing. But anyway, the woman in the poem was, I pretended he had a widow and that she had aged. So I made her 82 years old, all right? He was far from that age when he passed away. In fact, if he was still alive today, he would be in his mid-50s. Until We Meet Again. That's the name of the song. Will Downing, guys, check it out. It's a beautiful song. But I wondered What if he had married? What would his wife be saying to him about the world today? So that's why you heard me speak about, Benjamin, the prices are just so expensive and things of that nature, because those are things that are happening right now. And then at the end of that poem, she had missed him so much. And even though she knew one day she would go see him again, she wasn't ready to see him. She just would speak to her deceased husband about the current world, but not ready to go home to glory. Well, by the end of the poem, you notice her time had come. When she realized after speaking to him so much about what was going on, she was disappointed with what was going on in the world, and she decided to go ahead into that very deep sleep that I mentioned that she tried to avoid. Right? She often tried to avoid the deep sleep. Now, I don't know if you guys notice about a lot of older women, right? Older women, they get up early, okay? They light sleepers. They hear every noise, every creak, whatever sound you make in the house, that woman gonna hear it. All right? They sleep very delicately. So I put her in that way. Like, she was an older woman, and she didn't like to sleep heavy. In fact, as an older woman, all right, you appreciate waking up more and more than you did when you were younger. You love to wake up. You get happy about waking up. Okay? So this time, she didn't wake up. After speaking with her husband, Benjamin, and telling him what was going on in the world, she found in herself that she was disappointed. And I didn't get too much into her disappointments, but you can kind of hear it in the story because she went into so much memory of how things used to be. Right? So she was disappointed. So the time that she was disappointed and decided to take that deep sleep, she allowed God allowed her to come in and be greeted by her husband, and her breath was faded away. So now she transitioned. God took her hand and brought her to her husband. Now, in writing this, I pivot. Let me pivot real quick, because I remember my grandmother once told me not to be with someone so long that they forget to consider me enough to be a wife. My grandmother said it to me. May she rest in beautiful peace, okay? She always wanted her granddaughters to marry. She came from Birmingham, Alabama, and back in her days, they married really young. Those men married those women, they raised their kids and everything, and my father had a lot of sisters and brothers, okay? I always treasured the importance of marriage because of that, for that very reason. Especially since I believe that when you get married, all right, or you go home to glory after you've been married, there will be someone that you loved and married there to greet you, right? I believe that. I believe that when you marry somebody and one of you go home to glory, right, and you stay married, that when you go home to glory after your spouse has been deceased, went home to glory before you, when it's your turn to go, that spouse is going to be right there at the gate saying, come on in, baby, I love you. I still love you. I'm here. I got you. Welcome to heaven. And God is going to see that through, because I believe the marriage is blessed. And the Bible says that the marriage is blessed. So for that reason, I respect marriage, the transition of life when love never ends, right? So this poem gave me a synopsis of that. In the poem, her husband Benjamin, although she talked to him all the time, when she decided to fall into her deep sleep, her husband was waiting for her. I thought it was a beautiful thing to write. So I wanted to pivot away from the poem to say, let us not waste our time all the time just being in a relationship. When you're young and you're dating and all of that, it's a beautiful thing. Explore, enjoy life. You know what I mean? But it really does not look good. And this is just my opinion, not public opinion, not rag. It really doesn't look good to be over 50 and never been married, talking about that's my girlfriend and that's my boyfriend. Girl, bye. You too old to be somebody's girlfriend. Because you ain't a girl, you a woman. And you too old to be somebody's boyfriend. Because you ain't a boy, you a man. Okay? Don't let nobody waste your time. You deserve to have somebody in heaven greet you when you go home to glory and say, hey, my lifelong love, I'm here waiting for you. Or you deserve to have somebody come into the heavens that loved you for life here on earth, outside of your kids and your mom and them, all right, to say, hey, honey, all right, I'm here for you, okay? Or, hey, honey, I'm at these pearly gates to hold your hand. You know what I'm saying? Make them plug into your spiritual connection between you and God or whoever you worship and marry you. Men and women. All right? If she don't want to marry you, move on. If he don't want to marry you, move on. Don't waste your time. Because you deserve that. Life is so challenging, especially with all this going on. To not be able to have somebody meet you at the pearly gates and say, I've been loving you all my life and I'm happy you here with me. I'm sad that you lost the loved ones on earth, but you are here in the arms of me and God. I believe that. And I know, the Bible didn't say that. It's just my belief that, when you go to glory after you've been married and been with somebody for so long, and that person, you'll wait for that person or that person will wait for you. I think that's a beautiful thing. So know that somebody could be waiting for you, and that when you hold on to the hand of God and he released you into the open, beautiful heavens, that person that you loved all of that time, spent all of those years with, had all of those beautiful babies with, is right there in heaven waiting for you. Right? And I'm going to look that up in the Word. I talk about that all the time, but I'm going to go and check and see if there's anything like that in the Word about that, because I just believe that will happen. That's just my belief, that when you marry, they're going to be waiting for you. Hi, my dear, I love you. I still love you. I believe that. I believe that that's how we will be greeted in heaven. Outside of God giving us the check-in, like when you go to the hospital and you're in the triage and they check you in. Well, this ain't the hospital. It's heaven. Heaven. So yes, I believe that. Let's try to not just hold these relationships, and people giving you purpose for why they don't want to marry you. You know what I'm saying? Marriage is a beautiful thing. All right. And I don't want the world to take that away from us, because so much ugliness, and tumultuousness happens in these relationships that we witness, or sometimes we go through ourselves. Marriage is still a beautiful thing. And if you believe in love, you believe that love will last a long time. Okay. Like God's love is unconditional. You have that person in life that will love you unconditionally, go through the ups and downs, the sides and backs with you. And when you go home to glory, or if they leave before you, one of you will be there to greet each other and have that love eternally. Okay? So, end of story, end of night. Guys,